Daniela, Juanita Bermúdez, Carolina, Puerto Rico, Real de
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, Goldenboy Promotions took to their social media today and announced, Bienvenida! We would like to welcome the former four-time world champion Arely La Ametralladora Muciño to the Goldenboy family. A quality signing, if I do say so myself. Arely Muciño took a hiatus from the sport from 2019 to this year, 2021. She was supposed to be fighting Nicola Adams in defense of what was then her WBO title, but she suffered an injury, had to pull out of the fight. Title went up in the air, title became vacant, Nicola Adams picked it up.
And that Arely was out for a while after that.
In between then and now, she parted ways with Zanfer Promotions, amicably, I might add. No hard feelings.
Since then, she's been spending a lot of time in Puerto Rico.
Just last month, news broke that Arely Muciño had inked some kind of a pact with Miguel Cotto Promotions over there in Puerto Rico. And earlier today, news broke that she has inked yet another pact with Goldenboy Promotions. I guess it's safe to say that perhaps the former champion is being co-promoted by both Miguel Cotto Promotions and Goldenboy Promotions.
I think she's trying to take her career to the next level.
Which is saying a lot because Arely Muciño is already a very experienced and accomplished fighter. She debuted back in 2008. Since then, she's held the IBF Female Flyweight title, 2011, the WBC Female Flyweight title from 2014 to 2015, and the WBO Female Flyweight title from 2018 to 2019.
Been a professional boxer for about 13 years.
This past March, the former champion made her ring return on one of the Ring City events on the undercard of Serrano versus Bermudez. You might have seen her.
Against journeywoman Lucia Nunez.
And now that she has gotten the very necessary tune-up fight, as it were, out of the way, she's inked a pact with Goldenboy Promotions, one of the only major promotional outfits in this part of the world that's really making a solid investment in the sport of women's boxing. She has since inked a pact with Goldenboy Promotions, and she's ready to do big things. I gotta tell you, this is very exciting news because Arely Muciño, whose nickname is the Machine Gun.
She lives up to that moniker.
La Ametralladora. She's a very exciting fighter. One of several exciting female fighters Goldenboy Promotions will be promoting moving forward. Sinicia Estrada, Marlene Esparza, Sulem Urbina, Frenchon Cruz, and now Arely Muciño, whose last fight was fought in the super flyweight division, though now that she's gotten that necessary tune-up out of the way, I think Arely will move back down to flyweight, where Naoko Fujioka holds the WBA title, Ebeth Zamora Silva, Mexico, holds the WBC title, Leona Paola Judica of Argentina holds the IBF title, and Deborah Ana E. Lopez, also of Argentina, holds the WBO title. As I always like to state in many of my videos, the lighter weights provide the fighters there a deeper talent pool to choose from. In the flyweight division, there are 4 active reigning world champions, and each one of them can give somebody a hell of a hard time trying to become a world champion themselves. I think Arely Muciño's return heralds very exciting times for today's flyweight division. Moreover, it makes other matchups possible as well. Not just between Arely and what world champions are out there, but between Arely and some of her stablemates. I think a Marlene Esparza fight is a possibility. I vaguely recall hearing some rumblings about a potential Esparza versus Ebeth Zamora Silva fight for what would be Ebeth's WBC title. I could see Arely Muciño becoming a part of that conversation now that she signed on to Goldenboy. But I could also see Goldenboy Promotions putting together other fights with other fighters, other champions. I could see Arely Muciño taking on Leona Paula Judica or Deborah Anaí Lopez or Naoko Fujioka, who's a veteran the same way that Arely is a veteran. Though comparatively, Arely Muciño does have a lot more upside in spite of how experienced she already is. 13 years as a professional. She's only 31 years old. With a professional record of 29 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws. 10 knockouts, and she has been stopped once. Just once in her career. She shared the ring with the likes of Ava Knight, Bobby Juarez,
Jessica Chavez.
She's only ever lost to top-tier competition, and there's no shame in that, but she's also beaten some top-tier competition as well. She locked horns with Tenkai Tsunami.
The reigning light flyweight champion.
She fought Tenkai 2 times and beat Tenkai 2 times. She fought Mexico's own Montserrat Alarcón, the current reigning WBA atomweight champion.
Arely beat her too.
You really can't accuse Arely Muciño of being one of these fighters with a padded record that avoided stiff competition for years. Not Arely. Win or lose, she's been out there with some of the best and brightest fighters at or around these weights.
And with Goldenboy Promotions behind her.
Goldenboy Promotions that has their fingers on the pulse of the Chicano fans here in America. She's definitely in the right place as a fighter of Mexican descent to really make a splash here in the United States. There's a reason Arely Muciño is nicknamed the Machine Gun, and it's because that's how she fights. She's a come-forward, aggressive, volume puncher that doesn't disappoint in terms of entertainment value. Win or lose, one way or another, Arely is going to put on a show. I think that now that she has inked this pact with Goldenboy Promotions, who's still in bed with DAZN, I think that's where we can expect to see Arely Muciño's fights moving forward. This was a quality signing, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what else Goldenboy Promotions can do for the already very accomplished Arely Muciño. A quality signing, a fighter that adds value, entertainment value, to most any card. Congratulations to her, and I'm looking forward to whatever she's got in the wakes. In Bridgerweight news, the first Bridgerweight contests are set to arrive very soon. You've got Spilka versus Rosinski for what is supposed to be the WBC's
International
Bridgerweight International title. Just as well, we know the WBC ordered a rematch between Oscar Rivas and Brant Jennings for the inaugural Bridgerweight World title. And, I've talked about this Bridgerweight division several times already, that the Bridgerweight division
pointless
is a division that is intended to be a segue for cruiserweights to campaign as heavyweights, though it's an unnecessary segue because the cruiserweights weren't complaining about the gap between cruiserweight and heavyweight. They weren't asking for this, And if you look at the Bridgerweights ranked standings, WBC only, because the IBF ain't got no Bridgerweights. The WBO, the WBA, there's no Bridgerweight division with those sanctioning bodies. This is an invention exclusive to the WBC. This is of their design.
specifically.
Yeah. You look at those ranked standings, and these are guys who tried their hand at being champions at cruiserweight, tried their hand at being champions at heavyweight, and where they are now in their careers, they're in a place where it's not likely they'll be champions in either of those weights, at either of those divisions, cruiserweight, at heavyweight. So the WBC have carved out this little lane for these fighters that are in this particular stage of their careers and made it possible for them to compete here for a title that's more winnable than a title at heavyweight or a title at cruiserweight. And it seems like
It's pointless.
little more than just a cash grab. A means to collect sanctioning fees
More sanctioning fees.
from guys who you otherwise wouldn't collect sanctioning fees from at heavyweight or cruiserweight because they wouldn't be able to fight for world titles or trinket titles at those weights. Those divisions are too deep, and where these fighters are in their careers right now, it would be too difficult for them to try and become world champions at those weights. But here at Bridgerweight, where the talent pool is a lot more shallow, they've got a shot at calling themselves Bridgerweight champions. We're talking about Dmitry Kudryashov. We're talking about Artur Spilka. We're talking about Bryant Jennings, who, God bless those guys and their families, but they're journeymen. That's what they are.
Marco Hawk, what are we talking about?
These are guys who, for the most part, have been there and done that. The guy with the most upside in the entire Bridgerweight division is Oscar Rivas, who comes from an Olympic pedigree. He's only got one blemish on his record, that loss to Dillian White. All things considered, compared to everybody else that's competing at this weight, he's the guy with the most upside. And I find it curious that Yvonne Michelle made the decision to have Oscar compete at this weight when I thought Oscar was being co-promoted by Top Rank. He hasn't actually made his debut under that promotional banner. And boxing is back for the most part. It's not all the way back. The gates aren't all the way back yet. It's not back in full swing, but it has been back for a while now. Fights have been happening. And Oscar hasn't made his Top Rank debut. Tony Yoka hasn't either. I don't think that Tony Yoka's got any intention of competing as a Bridgerweight. Better still, I was expecting Oscar Rivas to compete as a heavyweight.
Under the Top Rank banner.
News of the signing broke in February of last year, over a year ago, that Top Rank had made the decision to co-promote Oscar Rivas. But we haven't seen him fight under the banner since then. And I think that, perhaps they released him. I mean, why the hell else would he be campaigning as a Bridgerweight?
If this was something that the fighters asked for.
This Bridgerweight division. If this division were formed at the request of the fighters themselves to actually bridge the gap between cruiserweight and heavyweight, then I could understand. But as far as I can see, that's what the cruiserweight division was for. To bridge the gap between the light heavyweights and the heavyweights. Hey, you got the WBC carving out this unnecessary lane for no other reason than the ability to collect more sanctioning fees from that many more fighters that under normal circumstances probably wouldn't even be competing for a world title.
Does this division get off the ground?
Not unless the other alphabet organizations fall in line with it, and even then, the fans will resist the division because here today it has no depth. It's primarily comprised of heavyweight and cruiserweight journeymen. So what's it mean to be a Bridgerweight champion?
Hey, don't get mad at me.
I'm just telling you what people are going to say. I'm just telling you what people's issue with this division is and what it's going to be. They're going to look at those rank standings and they're going to ask themselves, well, these rank standings consist of all the guys that were losing fights at cruiserweight and heavyweight. So being a Bridgerweight champion isn't going to seem like much to the eye. And we know that there are no big names at this weight, no real marquee fighters to help draw money and attention to the division. Thus,
maybe it don't get off the ground.
These alphabet organizations are constantly doing the opposite of what the fight fans want to see in the sport. We didn't want more weight classes. We wanted less. And we didn't want to see more trinket titles and belts in circulation. We wanted less in that area as well. But they consistently do the opposite. And they do so for self-serving purposes. This is yet another opportunity for the WBC to collect sanctioning fees from another set of fighters that they normally wouldn't collect sanctioning fees from because these guys already tried to be champions and it didn't work out.
That's all this really is.
And finally, in reference to the story unfolding up there in the heavyweight division, in reference to the undisputed heavyweight title fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, per a tweet from Michael Benson, Frank Warren has insisted the only way AJ versus Fury happens now is if a site deal satisfies the fighter's financial demands. I know what everybody wants to hear, but I don't want to tell people what they want to hear. I want to tell them this is what's happening. And I've no doubts that this is in reference to the Furies. We just talked about what Big John Fury said in my last upload, in my last video. He's saying that the money, the kind of money that they're looking for, it's not there. And this is as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is as a result of the industry and the entire market changing as we rebound from last year and everything that happened. And it's the strangest thing because in the back of my mind, I'm still telling myself, well, this is the biggest fight he can have. Even if by some chance the fight isn't worth now what it was worth before, it's still worth more than every other fight that's out there. There's no other fight out there, especially for Tyson Fury, that's going to make him the kind of money that this would make him. And rest assured, I think this is the Furies at work. I think they're the ones dissatisfied because, well, they're the only ones complaining.
A lot of them. Bob Arum, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, the full lot of them. They're farting worse than ducks. They can't put it on in this climate. There's no money for it. Nobody wants to pay that kind of money with no crowds. Unless we get a normal way of going on and back to how it was in 2018, forget all the big fights. There'll be no fights ever like that ever again, will they? You know, because people need freedom. People need a mindset. People need to be happy to pay for this kind of thing. It's $1 billion affair, isn't it? who's got it. There's only the Saudis got it. And they ain't jumping up and down to put it on, are they? It can't be that great of a fight, can it? They're not jumping up and down to put it on.
I'm all fucking out of patience with the Furies, I really am. And if what ends up happening is that the fight doesn't materialize this year because the Furies make the decision to walk away, and rest assured, this is the Furies at work here. You don't see anybody else complaining. It's just them. If they decide to walk away from this, even temporarily, if they delay it after being as big blowhards as they are, mouthing off, who was it calling out Anthony Joshua immediately after the Pulev fight?
He's the one who's been saying Anthony Joshua doesn't want this fight.
People need to stop apologizing for it. People need to stop apologizing for the indecisive, spastic, and scatterbrained tendencies of both Big John Fury and Tyson Fury. Because they're the ones who wanted to convince the boxing community at large that Anthony Joshua wants nothing to do with Tyson Fury, that he'd never take on this fight, only so that as soon as Eddie Hearn starts working on it, they start bitching and moaning and crying and complaining, and they're threatening to walk. If you really want this fight, you stick to your guns, you see things through.
Yeah.
If you really want the fight. I know what Tyson Fury wants to do. I know what his team wants to do. They want to get somewhere else and fight someone else, some no-fucking-hoper, so they can go back to pretending that it's Anthony Joshua that doesn't want the fight. They'll go back to calling him out as soon as they get somewhere else. That if things with this fizzle out, as soon as they start working on some other fight with some other fighter, they'll get back to calling out Anthony Joshua and trying to convince the boxing community at large that it's not their fault that the fight got delayed, that they haven't been the ones bitching and moaning and crying and complaining and dragging their feet the whole time when they ain't even got to do nothing. All you got to do is sit tight, keep yourself sharp in the gym while Eddie Hearn works on getting the right sight deal. That's all you got to do, but they don't want to do that. It's because of what I always told you. They never wanted to go into this fight under these circumstances.
They didn't.
Not off over a year of inactivity. Not when the last time the guy fought was in February of last year. It's been over 12 months since then. They never wanted to fight under those circumstances.
They didn't.
And listen, it's the biggest fight of the guy's career. I understand the jitters. I understand the nerves. I understand not wanting to go into the biggest fight of your career off over a year of inactivity. But if you haven't fought in over a year, it's your own fault. And you compounded the gravity of the situation by being the one who was calling out Anthony Joshua immediately after the Pulev fight. I can't play you a violin when you've been working so fucking hard on trying to convince people that Joshua don't want nothing to do with you, that Joshua's ducking you, that he'd never take the fight. I can't apologize for Tyson Fury's indecisiveness when he's the one
Talking the most.
who's been talking the most shit. You talk the most shit only so that as soon as Eddie Hearn starts working on the fight, you start looking for reasons to pull out of it.
Whose time constraint is this anyway?
This is a self-imposed time constraint being set by the Furies.
It is.
You're not on anybody's clock.
So if this fight don't happen, you know who to blame.